Hi everybody, Brendan here with another edition of This Month in Punk Rock History.
There's a shining little island and its people love it well.
That's right, it's March 2023, and that means it's time for the Wearin' o' the Green, as we celebrate St. Patrick's Day with a massacre. Not that one. No, not that one either. No. This one. This month in punk rock history, we take a look at a show that came to be called the St. Patrick's Day Massacre, or the Elks Lodge Riot. But first, as always, I want to give a quick shout out to my host, Sweet Jimmy Network. Check out previous editions of This Month in Punk Rock History, as well as 60-second reviews, all new greetings, and scatterbrain movie reviews. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and start fights in the comments section. Now, let's get into it. It was 1979. The Los Angeles punk rock scene was in a state of flux. The Proper Mask Club, formerly housed in the basement of an adult theater off Hollywood Boulevard, had been shut down for fire code violations. The Mask was central to the LA punk scene, and, not willing to let the scene die over some code violations, owner Brendan Mullen sought temporary refuge for his club at the Elks Lodge across the street from MacArthur Park. Here he hosted several gigs to benefit the opening of a new club. On St. Patrick's Day, March 17, 1979, the Alley Cats planned to record their first live album at the Elks. They were co-headliners with X in what was shortly the biggest show to date in LA punk history. Rounding out the bottom of the bill were The Plugs, The Go-Go's, The Zeros, and The Wipers from Portland. Audience size estimates vary from around 300 to 800. The crowd featured the who's who of LA punk: Darby Crash and Lorna Doom of The Germs, Alice Bagg of The Bags, the first three singers of Black Flag, that's Keith Morris, Ron Reyes, and Des Cadena. Stephen McDonald of Red Cross was there, as well as the only Nolte brother not in the last, Dan Nolte. Middle Class's Jeff Atta and girlfriend Dorothy James were photographed there, and countless other anonymous punks filled out the crowd. It started better than most LA punk shows around that time. The Wipers and the Zeros played flawless sets. The Go-Go's took the stage late and were plagued with technical issues throughout their set, but the crowd took it in stride. The Plugs were halfway through their cover of La Bamba when venue management demanded they stop playing. They refused, and the power was cut to the stage. Suddenly, the ballroom was filled with police in full riot gear with nightsticks and shields. The LAPD made vague claims about responding to a, quote, life-and-death situation, and that plainclothes officers inside the lodge spotted fighting and drug use. Most attendees dispute this reactionary negative and claim the police action was premeditated.
This cafe is closed until further notice. Clear the room at once.
How can you close me up? On what ground?
I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in here.
You're winning, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. Everybody out at once.
This now infamous show is sometimes referred to as the St. Patrick's Day Riot, but the Go-Go's Jane Weedland says there was no riot. The cops just started beating everyone up. Keith Morris seconds this, saying the only people rioting were the police. Morris had stepped outside during the aborted Plugs set and noticed police lined up outside. He ran back in, warned whoever would listen, grabbed some friends, and ducked into the men's room, hoping to wait out whatever was to come. Stephen McDonald says it was a lot of ridiculous violence. I don't remember exactly when it went from peaceful to violent, but at some point, someone got hit. I think a photographer grabbed for something in his bag and got hit with a baton. Several people got, quote, hit with a baton. Go-Go's frontwoman Belinda Carlisle recounts in her memoir hearing that the incident was sparked by someone throwing a bottle against a wall outside the building, and that Elks management called the cops. While the Go-Go's managed to escape unscathed, their manager, Ginger Canzaneri, was beaten with a nightstick. Alice Bagg recalled one female audience member manhandled and hogtied in response to her single-woman protest and refusal to follow police instructions. The police tried to justify their actions, saying that the woman was high on PCP, but Bagg, who was friends with the victim, claims the woman was sober at the time. It's not clear if Barbara James was the friend in question, but Mark Spitz in Brendan Mullen's book, the scenester recalls being hogtied and riot-cuffed. The cops beat me up and I was in the infirmary for 3 days, she says. Ron Reyes felt like the entire LA SWAT team descended on the event as the crowd ran for their lives. Indeed, Dan Nolte, all of 13 years old at the time, wrote in his journal that night, "There was cops everywhere. They blocked off the streets, they roamed MacArthur Park, they had a helicopter flying around, spotting a big light on us." Des Cadena says the cops not only evacuated the building, but continued to chase the dispersing punk crowd throughout the surrounding neighborhood. I remember Darby Crash trying to scale a church fence, he says. He was too fucked up to make it over, and he got stuck on it, a spike through each sleeve on his leather jacket. We ran by him and saw the cops hitting him, and then we just came back around again, and he was still hanging there, helpless, so we kinda just pushed him over and ran for it. Back inside, future rock journalist Greg Burke observes, one punk wasn't budging, and from his slouched seated posture, it appeared that he was passed out from St. Patrick's cheer. Two cops prodded him, and when he didn't rise, one of them struck him with a baton on the head and the shoulder. They picked him up and dragged him out. The shuttered old Mass Club served as a sort of home base and field hospital where the punks could find refuge from the police. It also served as the backdrop for the next day's press conference at which the punks could tell their side of the story. It was at this press conference where the transplanted Canadian punk trio Sean, Mark, and Adam Stern decided to transform the focus on punk kids from the subject of gawking to the promoters of positivity. The brothers Stern were inspired that day to start the Better Youth Organization. BYO soon became a zine, a record label, and a movement, promoting positivity and featuring bands such as 7 Seconds, SNFU, and their own band, Youth Brigade. The LA Times reported 8 arrests, all of which occurred outside the venue. The article reports 60, quote, riot-equipped cops broke up the show after reports of bottles being thrown and furniture being broken. It was a life-and-death situation, said a police spokesman. Journalist Chris Morris reprinted his LA Reader account of the event on Tumblr. According to Morris, only 7 people were ultimately arrested, all for charges stemming from the police presence, and no arrests were made for any incidents prior to the raid. Apparently, the police were beating anyone who was not moving out of the area with what they deemed sufficient speed, writes Morris. It seems Jeff Atta of Middle Class was among those who didn't move fast enough. Anna Suma's photo used in the Reader piece shows girlfriend Dorothy James with her own forehead bruise parting Atta's hair to show the damage to his scalp. The picture was later used on the Middle Class bootleg. The St. Patrick's Day Elks Lodge Massacre of 1979 marked a new era in LA punk. Police no longer passively scooped up drunken disorderlies outside gigs or intimidated punks walking down the streets. The police had established a precedent, a full license to invade and break up any gathering that threatened the conservative status quo. Have you ever witnessed the Riot Squad break up a show? Tell me your side of the story in the comments section. Also, corrections, info, insights, and bail money are welcome. Join me next month when we take a look at Conflict's Gathering of the 5,000, another show that might have involved a police presence. Meanwhile, follow my half-assed attempt to chronicle the day-by-day events in the history of the scene with Today in Punk Rock History at tiprh.start.page. For this month in punk rock history, I'm Brendan McCabe.